Winning Indian Wells in Miami in the same year, also called the Sunshine Double, is one of the rarest and most difficult feats in the whole world of tennis. Even players like Serena Williams and Rafael Nadal were not able to achieve the feat. Rafael Nadal not even able to win Miami in his whole career. Aryna Sabalenka is only the 5th woman to achieve it, and Jannik is only the 8th, and the first one ever to win both of them in straight sets. The Sunshine Double is harder than winning a major. So what do the Indian Wells and Miami Open results tell us about 2026 season as we move forward into the clay season? Let's take a look. Hello, welcome to the Tennis and Bagels podcast. My name is Andre, and the Sunshine Double has just ended with two Sunshine Doubles. Jannik Sinner beat Eala 6-4, 6-4 in the final, and Aryna Sabalenka beat Coco Gauff 6-2, 4-6, 6-3, and it's the first time that they both achieved it, like, individually, and we can infer many interesting things out of these wins, right? So there's a bunch of records that were, achieved or broken, mostly on the side of Jannik Sinner. Sabalenka herself, like, one of the things that she did really was just insert herself into a very prestigious list, which is of winners of the Sunshine Double. There are fewer in the women's side than there is on the ATP side. Jannik Sinner is the 8th player to accomplish this feat, and Sabalenka is only the 5th woman to do it. And Sabalenka's path was a little bit more difficult. She had to face Rybakina in both tournaments. She beat Rybakina in the final, saving a match point in Indian Wells, and then beat her pretty comfortably in straight sets in the semifinals of the Miami Open, probably one of the most anticipated matches. And then, of course, she had to struggle a little bit against Coco Gauff in the final. And, it's an interesting matchup because Coco normally is able to pull the best out of Sabalenka because of her game style. She's probably the best defender on tour, and she just likes the matchup. Like, it doesn't matter if she's had a tough week or a tough month on tour. Like, it doesn't matter if she didn't play her best tennis. Against Sabalenka, you can almost always expect that she is going to be trouble. But in terms of the records, just to finalize this little part, Sinner has basically broken the most amount of records. Like, it was mostly historically relevant for him in that sense, where he's now won 34 straight sets in Masters 1000 level. And that's without counting with the ATP finals, where he's also won in straight sets. So he's won now a total of, I think, 4 tournaments. So Paris, ATP finals, Miami, and Indian Wells without dropping a single set. And he's also completed the hard court. He completed hardcourt tennis, really. He's won all of the big tournaments on hard courts. He actually did that in Indian Wells 2 weeks ago or so. But in the context of the Sunshine Double, he did all of that and more. If I'm not mistaken, Sinner is the only player ever to win the Sunshine Double without dropping a set. On the men's side, is actually easy to verify because he's the only male player ever to win 2 Masters 1000 events without dropping a set. Of course, he's now won 3, Paris, Miami, and the Wells. It's a little bit harder to make those claims in that sense because the actual 1000 level only exists, I don't even know, like since maybe 2010 or 9, I suppose. But a lot of those tournaments exist for a long time now, and just basically the title not necessarily the title, but like the ownership of the tournament just gets transferred. It used to be in Hamburg, and then it became Madrid, and you can track those a little bit better. So the fact still stands that it's still a pretty phenomenal feat. He has been incredible at this level. Hasn't reflected in a Grand Slam since Wimbledon last year, but he's not performing badly. He said as well, like a Tennis Channel interview, that losing against Novak Djokovic in a semifinal in 5 sets, in what probably was one of the best performances of Djokovic's career, or like lately in his career, past the 2023 mark, when he won 3 Grand Slams again. It's obviously not shameful at all. But since I'm basically dropping into Jannik and whatever his achievements were this year, the thing that I want to focus right now is the race to number 1, because now it's kind of like an inflection point of the season. The Miami Open is done, so now we're going to transition to clay, and The next hardcore tournament is only in Washington in July, and that's not necessarily that much longer from now. I think it's probably like somewhat 5 months, 4 months or whatever. But yeah, we're going to transition into clay, and Sinner asserted his dominance on hard. So it's going to be intriguing to see what happens with the number one race. The one thing that I want to point out in that race situation is that Carlos is still the US Open and Australian Open reigning champion. And yeah, he's on 3 or the last 4 Grand Slams that were played. And he's still number one by what, like just a little over 1,000 points over Jannik Sinner. On the race, which is where it gets a little bit interesting, Carlos is only 50 points ahead of Sinner. But that doesn't really give much reason for, us to think, oh, Sinner is basically guaranteed, or he's like the front runner for Year End No.1. Nothing is guaranteed yet, especially as I said, like this is an inflection moment. We are going to clay. This is probably Carlos Alcaraz's best surface. Sinner has not won a single Masters 1000 on clay yet, and Carlos has won a couple at his time already. And because Carlos is so good, and Sinner has not really faced Carlos in many of his big title runs. I think he's only beaten Carlos in one of them, which was Wimbledon last year, if I'm not mistaken. But it's not as many. So Carlos defeated Sinner in more runs to big titles than Sinner has defeated Carlos. And Carlos has a really strong record against Sinner. So if Carlos can keep it up, and he was on a run of like 16 matches in a row this year. So saying that Sinner is the front runner for Year End No.1 right now is just like really, it's not realistic to say that he's the favorite. He's definitely the only other favorite. Like nobody else comes close to Sinner and Alcaraz right now. The next player in the rankings right now is Alexander Zverev in the 52-week rankings, and he's something like 7,000 points behind. Like that's ridiculous. He'd have to win all the 4 Grand Slams to catch up with that, and is obviously not going to happen anymore, right? More on him a little bit later. So yeah, just recency bias. We are going to clay, and then we're going to see what's going to happen. Obviously, Carlos has a lot of points to defend. Sinner has a bunch of points as well. Like his time now, where he didn't have any points because of last year's doping scandal. But this year, right now at the clay season, he already has a few points to defend. In fact, he also has to defend his Roland Garros final points, which is not nothing, is 1,200 points. Carlos has obviously the 2,000 he has to defend, so we'll have to see what happens. There's obviously a lot more riding on Carlos than there is on Jannik, but also Jannik has to defend his 2,000 points from Wimbledon, and who knows what's going to happen, right? So this rivalry is pretty heated. We will have to see like what's going to happen between these two. So it's extremely premature to tell who is going to be the front runner for the race and to be Year End No.1. Honestly, I feel like at this point we can basically wait to see only after Wimbledon, and then we're going to see the US Open, where, by the way, both of them are finalists, and Carlos with 2,000, Jannik with 1,200 points, and then even after that, it's going to be hard to tell because Jannik has a lot of points to defend at the end of the season. As I said, he won Paris and the ATP final, so that's in straight sets without losing a match. Sinner didn't drop a match, so he made a total of 1,500 points in the ATP finals. So it's not an easy and clear-cut, idea to say, well, Sinner is definitely the front runner. There's none of that. It's pretty much impossible to tell right now. It comes with consistency. They're going to have to be consistent this year, as they have been consistent the past couple of years. So yeah, we're gonna have to wait and see. The battle for No.1 on the WTA side is pretty interesting as well. I think the Indian Wells in Miami had very important points to give, specifically to Rybakina. Sabalenka had to defend some points, especially in Miami, where she won last year, and Rybakina could have had a chance because she lost in the first round, so she only added 325 points to her ranking, which is basically the difference between them right now in the 52 week. But she did have that chance, and Sabalenka just was able to stand in her way and not let her take those points away from her. So it's far more clear cut to say that Sabalenka is the favorite to year end #1 and the WTA side. Things are not done yet, of course. Rybakina only has really a bulk of points to defend towards the end of the year when she obviously won the WTA finals. So yeah, there's Roland Garros and there is Wimbledon and the US Open, which Sabalenka also won. So there is 2,000 points to be defended over there as well. So there's still a lot to be decided. But in terms of consistency and whatever they're doing on tour, Rybakina has the game. She has the potential to beat Sabalenka and be the better player in matches. She wasn't in 2 tournaments in a row, lost almost comfortably to Sabalenka in straight sets. I don't think that she was at her best, but even if she wasn't at her best, that's really what it matters, right? She needs to be at her best way more often because Sabalenka is almost always at her best. Like there's almost not a single tournament where she participates that she doesn't reach at least the semifinal. So if Rybakina isn't able to keep up with Sabalenka only in those results, not even like winning tournaments, it's going to be really hard. I don't think that I would probably say that Sabalenka has already some like 70% chance of ending #1. And I'm just talking about Rybakina, right? So the rivalry right now in my head is just basically these are the 2 front runners. Obviously, Rybakina just reached world #2, so it's obviously safe to assume that this is what it is. Also, Sabalenka just overtook Rybakina, and the race ranking is as well, just by maybe a couple hundred points. So it's pretty tight. It's been tight from the beginning, but there is a wild card in my head, and the wild card is Coco. She also performed really well in Miami, reached the final, took a set off of Sabalenka, maybe could have done better in the final set, but Sabalenka is just playing with a lot of confidence, and Goff herself admitted that she was feeling a little bit of imposter syndrome. She couldn't really tell, do I really deserve to be here? And honestly, like with every win, there's nothing in her that says she doesn't deserve to be where she is. She is an incredible player as well. She's back to world #3, which is interesting as well. She just overtook Swiatek, who's going down, and she's just losing more and more of her confidence, unfortunately, as it seems. But yeah, Coco Gauff is for me the biggest wild card. She's a winner at the US Open and the French Open where she's defending the 2,000 points by defeating Sabalenka in last year's final. So the clay season is going to be very interesting. I think that's where Coco can really shine and get a lot more points, really, to try and stay ahead and try and play catch up. And the difference is not that big from Rybakina to Coco. I think is really just a couple hundred points, if not just about 1,000. But it's not that big of a difference. So it's going to be interesting to see like what are they going to do, and come grass season, hopefully for Rybakina she can grab a few more points during the clay season as well. As I've already mentioned that she's past quarterfinalist in the event, so she is capable of playing good tennis on clay. But obviously, like the big favorites are definitely still Sabalenka and Gauff. It's going to depend on how Gauff plays during the next few tournaments, whether she is a closer or even bigger favorite for the title than Sabalenka is. But I think it's safe to assume right now that Sabalenka is the biggest favorite for the French Open. And honestly, I would imagine that she probably even wins Madrid again as well this year. We'll see what happens in Rome. It's an interesting race because whereas the men is really tied between Jannik and Carlos, and it's really basically impossible to tell who's going to finish the year as #1. The WTA Tour, while Sabalenka is the dominant force, and you could even say, as I'm putting just like this number out in the air, that 70% chance that she finishes the year as world #1. It doesn't mean that the race isn't tight. There's a lot of good players And Sabalenka does have to play a lot of good tennis to beat a lot of these players all the time. Pegula keeps coming, and even though she's losing a lot of these matches against Rybakina and Sabalenka, she is still there, and she's still a great player. You can't sleep on her. And then you got Swiatek. Who knows if she's going to wake up for the clay again? But yeah, so it's a tight race. Sabalenka still has to keep the level that she has been showing, which is what I'm pretty much banking on, just because of the past 2 years. She's just been so good. It's easy to expect that she will do it, but if she doesn't, then there's a real window of opportunity for these other players to come in and catch up to her. And since I've mentioned a bit of other players as well, I've mentioned Swiatek here and there, I'd like to take a moment and explore a few of other narratives that occurred during the Sunshine Double from other players' perspectives as well, right? Players who could be dangerous, players who are learning, and I'm going to start with Fonseca. Fonseca, whom I've made a video about, well, not exactly just him, but just about his match against Carlos. That match was interesting because I feel like a lot of people might have felt that he fell flat from what he should have been. He played really well against Sinner. He threatened to break that a streak of straight sets that he had. He had 3 set points in the first set tiebreak. Couldn't convert. Sinner just played well, and the pressure got to Fonseca. But to be fair, just Carlos is the world #1, and he is amazing. He's already won both of these titles, albeit not in the same year. In fact, Miami, I think, was his first Masters 1000 trophy that he's ever lifted. So he's pretty good there as well. So Fonseca should have taken that as a learning experience. And I'm pretty sure he did. Like when he was explaining how he felt to play against Carlos, he didn't feel like he was explaining it like, oh, I'm never going to beat this guy, or like, oh, I just did my best and I try to hope for the win. And he was basically approaching this match from the beginning as a learning experience, just going to see what is it going to feel like to play Carlos in an official match? What was he going to do? And he was essentially saying playing Sinner felt a bit more predictable. Not easy. It's just predictable hard. It's just Sinner, he said, felt like a machine. He was just pummeling ground strokes from the back ceaselessly and tirelessly, and he was a great mover, and you kind of knew what to expect, and that's probably why Fonseca probably got a little bit more time to figure out when to play his shots. And Carlos, he described as more of a creative player. I guess no surprise there. Sinner is phenomenal. Probably even Carlos, he can't really keep up with Sinner from the back of the court. He has to apply his variety in order to stop Sinner from playing his best tennis, because Sinner is basically unrivaled from the back of the court. Carlos is amazing there, but I do think that Sinner has a little bit of an edge. Sinner's serve has been absolutely off the charts. He served some 2 or 3 matches with first serve percentage when at over 90%. He served something like 19% of aces, ace rate. Of all the serves that he saved, 1 in 5 was an ace. That's absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, Fonseca playing these guys, he just really realized what it was, the top of the tennis world right now, and he took it as a learning experience. And honestly, if Roddick says that he passes the eye test, I believe him. And I think that Fonseca does have the game. I think he has the forehand. I think he has the backhand. I think his movement has improved considerably. And I was expecting him to do a little bit better. But honestly, when I saw the way Carlos was playing, I was like, yeah, no, he missed a few chances here and there, sure. But I think Carlos, just really put on a clinic right there, right? On tactical and strategic play. It was just amazing to see the way Carlos played that match. And honestly, really bravo for Fonseca to pull up the fight that he did. It could have been a lot worse. And he played well. I think that it does bear, it's going to bear good fruit. And the clay season is going to be interesting as well for Fonseca. Let's see what he gets from here as South American. He does have experience. His first title on the ATP Tour was in clay. So it's going to be interesting to see what he's going to do right now after this. And hopefully he can get a little bit more points. And who knows, maybe he's going to have another chance at playing Alcaraz and Sinner. And I kind of really hope that this will happen. Moving on to Swiatek, whom I already talked a little bit in terms of her confidence is plummeting. She's not playing her best tennis. She's run through a few coaches now. Wim Fissette is off her team right now, and it's just hard to see like what's the future for Swiatek, right? I was talking, I think, to Vansh, and I think he said that just because it's clay, she's not going to magically regain, or maybe it was Owen, she's not going to just magically become great again, right? She is still pretty good. She's still pretty dangerous. The clay can maybe bring back some of the memories of being a great player to her. But it's really a wait and see. Like, what's she going to do? She hasn't really been able to find solutions. She acknowledges that. She acknowledges that for her it's just been hard on court, that she doesn't trust in herself. And what's it going to do? Like, what will Stuttgart look like for her? What will Madrid look like for her? What will Rome look like for her? And most importantly, what is Roland Garros going to look like for her? She got bagel last year against Sabalenka, so that really puts her like, she's not really in favor of land anymore. Like for Roland Garros, she had an aura there that it's not really exactly there anymore, right? So she has obviously vestiges of that. I feel like coming the French Open, we are still going to expect her to be like winning, and we're going to look at her and be like, well, what's he going to do now? Like, how's this match going to go? And we are going to be kind of always expecting to see her best tennis on the French clay. But she's right now, for me, at the very minimum, a clear third favorite for RG in terms of she's just not better than Coco and Sabalenka in terms of just like the confidence that she has in her game to find solutions, because Coco plays not her best tennis kind of pretty often, but she finds solutions and she wins the matches. And if she can find those solutions and Swiatek can't, if she starts playing a little bit better, you just kind of trust that she won't beat Coco. That's what I feel. So yeah, I really, really, really hope that she finds her best tennis, because when she was just dominating force on tour, she was just great, right? So she had something like a 100 match winning streak that she didn't lose after winning the first set. So that was pretty incredible. So hopefully I should get back to that again. Back to Zverev, I made a video about him where I think that he cannot win majors. And I will dare to say that he basically showed that to me in the Miami Open. In the Worlds, he just didn't play as well as Sinner did. It was just a monster on court on that day. But I don't think, he says he's ready to win a major. He says he has confidence. I think that at least at the very minimum, the mindset needs to be that. Like, you need to say, like, I am going to win. He literally said those words, I will win a major this year. So if he does have at least that mindset, you can at least enter the court with that mindset. But can the mindset survive when the moment shows and he needs to hit an overhead on a set point? Well, I don't know. It didn't survive very well against Sinner at the Miami Open. He actually played a better match than Sinner. He was the aggressor. He had more forehand winners than Sinner, but Sinner just came out on top, and he kind of felt, I'm not going to say predictable, but you felt it was coming. Like, he was leading in the tiebreaker. And in my opinion, I just kind of felt it. Like, he's going to miss something. There's no chance. And lo and behold, and like, he didn't just miss because he went for too much. He missed exactly for the opposite reason. He went for too little. And I just don't see him winning a major. Is he a player that has the tennis to win majors? Yes. If both Alcaraz and Sinner are not playing at their best, that's where I feel like he has the best chance, because I feel like Zverev has learned to play better against players who are less, I guess, I don't want to say less good than him, but like lower ranked than him. So I feel like he has learned how to deal with them better. But when it comes to player that he's kind of expected to lose, he ends up losing. And I don't think he understands yet how to deal with it, like on a profound level. Not necessarily like he doesn't understand, like he's all losing. But I just don't think that he has the mentality that can survive that pressure on court. And I just don't think that he's going to change this year unless he magically starts actually like taking those matches on and beats them. Alcaraz he's beaten before, even in finals, in a Madrid final, I believe. But if he can't beat these guys now, I think it's only going to get more difficult. It's not going to get easier. He's quite a bit older. I think he's like 27 or 28 years old. So yeah, I don't know. I just don't see him winning. I don't see the results on court when it matters. Like he obviously has showed, like if you can close that gap on that one time that it's going to be pressure, then I can say, oh well, maybe he's actually a big threat to win a major. But right now, I'm still counting him out. I don't think he wins. I just don't think that he is better mentally than Sinner and Alcaraz. Tennis is debatable, but mentally he's just not at their level. So yeah, that's Zverev for me. Alex Eala, I made another video, and thanks for everybody who watched the video because it got 3,000 views or something, which was pretty amazing for me to see. But Eala is a player that is in a development curve that I think is slightly different, say, from Fonseca. She still struggles against other players that she's not really expected to beat anybody, really, I would say. But against the top players, she got pretty routine, I think, by Muchova in Miami, and she obviously dropped quite a lot of points. But I will say that I see in her the grit, that mentality to put herself out there. I already talked a lot about her. I'm going to leave that video maybe in the description here. And if you're watching YouTube on the podcast, it's probably going to be there as well. But I think that she's also improved just considerably. I think she hits her forehand pretty well. Her ground strokes were always very good, but I think the serve is probably the one thing that needs to get considerably better. She has, in my opinion, from my basic eye test, I have zero statistics about it, but I think that she's already improved that quite a bit. So if she can still keep doing this, it's going to be way better for her. And I think that the clay season is going to be pretty solid for her to grab some points, because on clay, you have more time, so she can defend her serve a little bit better. We had players like Diego Schwartzman, who did pretty well on clay, and he was a short guy, so he couldn't serve as hard as the other guys on tour did. But he did pretty well on clay for himself, right? Because that's one of the reasons, right? Tsitsipas is also kind of like another reason why clay helps in terms of that. That for him is the backhand. I'm not gonna talk about Tsitsipas in this video, but maybe another time. But yeah, Eala, I think, has still a lot of potential. I think we shouldn't just dismiss her just because of a few bad results and the fact that she dropped a lot of points in Miami. There is still a lot of tennis to be played in the season, and I honestly believe her. And last but not least, we have the GOAT. For a lot of people, this is debatable, but I guess at the very minimum, the statistical GOAT, Novak Djokovic, dropped out of Miami, dropped out of Monte Carlo just recently as well. Not sure if he's dropped out of another tournament lately, but I think that those are the only two. Still struggling with the shoulder injury. He's 38, going into 39 very soon. Obviously, his career is going to come to an end in probably the next few years. It's almost at this point, it's just become a guesswork, like when. I don't even think he said that he wants to go to the Olympics in 2028. We'll see about that. Like, that's at least like what he wants to do. At the very minimum, he wants to go and, I don't know, play a match and, just say goodbye at that stage. But too far right now. Clay season. And because he didn't play Miami, I think clay also is not going to be his best surface anymore. It used to be at some point like one of his best surfaces. I think he still can obviously produce amazing tennis. I just don't feel like his body can keep up with the physicality of the tour right now, especially if you really have to dig in for the rallies and you can't really bail yourself out on the first serve, and he has a pretty good first serve. So I think for him is all about the grass and probably back into the hard courts as well. Cincinnati, he's always done well there. I think he skips Canada again. Absolutely no chance for him in my eyes that he becomes number one. Case in point, he had to miss Miami, has to miss Monte Carlo. He's playing fewer and fewer tournaments. Still world number 4. It wasn't number 3 up until not too long ago. So he's definitely top 5 level tennis. Like every tournament that he enters, he's been making really big and really deep runs. But it's definitely getting more difficult, and I don't think that clay is going to favor him in that regard. So I think for me that we have to wait and see for the grass season to show up again. I think that's where he's going to shine at his best. He's going to be able to pull some like serve and volleys and serve some 40 love games with like 3 aces and 1 on return serve. I feel like Clay is not going to be his friend, especially at the French Open. Like, I don't think he does all that well at the French. I would say probably like give him a quarterfinal, give him a semifinal even, but I don't think he pulls off the same thing that he did in Australia when he beats Jannik Sinner in the semifinal in 5 sets. I don't think that happens. I don't think he's going to beat them on the physical level, and I don't think that the tennis. He's never been like that much of a power play anyway, so he's not like a Wawrinka or a Del Potro who can just blast winners from anywhere on the court. He can, but on a different way. Like, he's more of like a versatile player, and I don't think that's going to translate very well onto clay right now. Maybe I'm going to be proven wrong. Maybe the time that he's taking off court and he's going to just come up, swinging for the French Open again. But right now, that's where I see him. I see him probably just playing good tennis in the clay season and just kind of getting some match fitness and then trying to bring it on for the grass season. That's where I see Djokovic going from now. So yeah, this is my basically summary of what I see the next stretch of the season coming on clay, on a few players that I think are key for us to understand the tour and like who's really dictating the big results. And after the Sunshine Double, I think we got some pretty good data, and I'm actually pretty ready to move on to clay and see like what happens there. Like, we already have a lot of hardcore tournaments on the tour, on both tours. On the WTA Tour, we only have 2 clay court Masters events, 1,000 events, that's what they call them. And I want to make a video about this soon, an episode about it soon, where I talk about like the state of clay court on tour and a few of my wild ideas to solve this. If you're watching, if you're listening on the podcast, I just the air quotation marks, but yeah. Yeah, let me know, what are you taking home from this Sunshine Double? What did you learn? What did I miss? And what's your pick for number 1 on both the WTA on the ATP Tour? Just let me know in the comments. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.